Happy is he, happy is he.
Go to John chapter 1 and verse 18. Now, John 1:18, he says, no one has ever seen Mighty One. Keep that thought in mind. Now I'm going to use some. Okay. Brother L, Genesis 17 and verse 1. Brother Dealwell, Genesis 18 and verse 1. Okay. Let's hold those scriptures. Let's read a little bit more. He said, no one has ever seen Mighty One. But then he goes on to say, the only begotten Son. Okay. Now we want to look at this term, only begotten. All right. Now the word, if you want to do a research on it, you can find it according to the Greek translation, number 3439 in your Strong's. The word is monogenes. Monogenes. All right. Now the term is a compound term. It's formed by two words, number 3441 and number 1096. But it means only born. Okay? Now we want to look at that. The word 3441 is mono, which we are familiar with that term. Mono means one, or only. Okay. The term we want to take a look at is number 1096. Now this is the term where the second part, genes, comes from. This again is according to the Greek. The word is defined as cause to be. In other words, when it says only begotten, it's saying that he is the only one that was caused to be or to come into being. Okay? But keep in mind, it says, here's some homework for you all. Do some research, because when I was being shown a lot of this in older manuscripts, this is actually translated from a term. The words for some, you see in the later manuscript, well, in the earlier manuscript, that word was a term associated with theos, which means God. So more correctly, it should have been the only begotten God. But do some research on that, okay? But we still want to focus on the fact that he is the only begotten and the only one who was brought into being, given existence. He says, no one has ever seen Mighty One. This is a reference to the Father. The only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he did declare. So remember, he said, indeed the world didn't know you. I knew you. I'm the only one, in other words, who knew you. Okay? And it is I who declared you to the world. Okay? Now this term, again, I'm going to take a look at some scriptures. This term, only born, also means monogenes, also means soul. So I wanted to take the liberty to look up the term soul based on our English definition. The word S-O-L-E. It means without another or others. Okay? It says, of or having to do with only one, given or belonging to no other, exclusive, solitary. So now when we look at that, okay, does this mean that Yahushua was, without another, the only one who was begotten from the Father? Is that what this is telling us? In other words, talk to me. What are y'all getting from this? If he was the only begotten, the only one who came forth, in other words, from the Father,
He was the only one. wasn't created by the Father. He was the only one the Father brought into existence.
I'm going to tell you something. How many people know much about Isaiah? Prophet Isaiah? Prophet Isaiah, do research on that history. Was he executed? What happened to brother Prophet Isaiah? Oh, okay, that's what I'm talking about. All right. Well, I believe, if I remember correctly, that Isaiah was one of those prophets who was killed, executed. Now, one of the reasons why this man was executed was because of the word that he was given. Okay. Now, there's a passage that we're going to take a look at. Okay, a little later. That's going to clearly show, because I know there are a lot of issues among our Israelite brothers and sisters out there pertaining to accepting Mashiach. You know, and a lot of it is based on not really understanding what that Tanakh, what that Old Testament scripture really teaches. That the brother Lamadia, who brought out together about a month ago, how you really can't have the one without the other. I mean, the old is the foundation to the new, so everything that's established in the new has to be found in the old. Mm-hmm. When they were ministering back in that day, they didn't pull out their own letters. They used that word. So there has to be some evidence that people like to use. You know, there has to be some proof in the Tanakh that Mashiach was, in fact, who he said he was. We're going to take a look at that passage a little later. But let me go back to my scriptures now. 17:1, my brother. Genesis 17:1.
When Abram was 90 years old and died, Yahweh appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty Elohim, walk before me and be thou perfect.
Okay, who appeared to Abram?
Yahweh.
Okay. Go down to verse 22. What does it say there?
And he left off taking with him, and Elohim went up from Abraham.
So in the first verse it said that Yahweh appeared to Abram. So what does that mean? That Yahweh appeared to him. What does that mean? Does that mean that Abram actually beheld Yahweh? Okay. Now it also says in verse 22 that Yahweh went up and left him. Okay. Thank you, my brother. 18:1 and 2.
Then Yahweh appeared to him by the terebinth trees of mountain, and he was sitting in the tent door in the heat of the day. So he lifted his eyes and looked, and beheld 3 men were standing by him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them, and bowed himself to the ground.
Okay. So going back to verse 1, Genesis 18, it said again that Yahweh appeared unto Abram. That correct? Yes. Okay. Go down to verse 16 and read through verse 22 for me.
Then the men rose from there.
Okay, stop for a minute. Now it said in verse 2 that there were 3 men that came. Now it started off saying how Yahweh appeared before Abraham. Then in the second verse it talked about 3 men. Now in verse 16 it talked about 2 of these men. They got up, they left. Go ahead.
Then the men rose from there and looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them to send them on their way. And Yahweh said,
Hold up, and who?
And Yahweh said,
Okay, go ahead.
Shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing?
Okay.
Since Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I have known him, in order that he may command his children and his household after him.
Let's stop for a second. Right now, Yahweh is contemplating whether or not he should tell Abraham what he's about to do. He's just having a conversation with himself right now. He's thinking, in other words. He considered it. And he commanded Moshe to write this down. Question is, why? Go ahead, brother.
For I have known him, in order that he may command his children and his household